In this video, I'm covering the 7 questions you can ask when interviewing a real estate agent so you don't hire the wrong one. And I'm starting right now. What's going on? My name's Doug. Welcome back to another video. If this is your first time here and you want to learn about buying a house, generating passive income, or all types of other things related to real estate, start now by subscribing and clicking on the bell so you don't miss anything. Okay, so I'm going to share 7 questions that you need to ask when interviewing real estate agents as a buyer. The insights that you collect from this are going to give you the necessary information to make the right hiring decision about the right agent for you. So let's get started. Question number 1, can you tell me about yourself? What you're trying to understand here is, do you enjoy being around the person? Do you like them? Or do you dread the thought of the person in your life? There's a lot of things that you can ask yourself to really gauge this. What was their charisma? Did you guys build instant rapport? Did you have fun with them? Were they memorable? Did they make you laugh? Are they friend-worthy? Would you be their friend? Because the most important thing you have to think about on this question is you're going to be spending weeks, if not months, with this individual trying to find a house. One of the biggest purchases you'll make in your life, if not the biggest. And the last thing you want to do is be around someone you don't want to be around or would never choose to be around. Question number 2, can you quickly summarize for me your real estate experience? And you can break this down into 3 things that you can get out of the agent to make sure that you have a clear understanding of their experience. One is, what is their focus? Do they focus on selling? Do they focus on buying? Do they focus on buying townhouses, condos, single-family houses, commercial, all of the above? What you want to make sure is whatever they're focused on aligns with whatever your need is. So if you're going after a townhouse, make sure someone has some experience buying townhouses, not just buying single-family houses. Number 2, are they seasoned? How long have they been in the business? You want at least a couple months. And how many total transactions have they done in their career? I would say that you at least need them to have somewhere between 3 and 6, because then at least they have their feet wet. They know what they don't know, or they know who they can tap into for help when they need it. And number 3, are they current? They've done a real estate transaction recently in the area that you're interested in for the type of transaction that you need them to complete. There's no better experience than doing something that they're about to do again. Question number 3, tell me about a time you had a difficult buyer and how did you handle it? This one's all about understanding how the agent respects their clients. In order to have a strong relationship that sustains throughout the process, you need mutual respect. So as you're interviewing your agent, you need to see if they've earned your respect, but you need to make sure that they are respectful to you as well. And the best way to really get through to that or understand that is to understand how they've treated past clients. So ask them, when did they have a difficult client? How did they handle it? And you want to look for things such as they handled it with patience. They had great communication. They managed through the conflict. Versus what you don't want to see is that they pointed the finger to the buyer, said they were an impossible buyer. The agent had to fire the buyer because it just wasn't working out. Sure, there are some cases where that's the case, but there's always a red flag to me that if you have that scenario and that's the story that they bring up to you, just tread lightly. Question number 4. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made representing a buyer, and how have you prevented that mistake from happening into the future? This is a really fun question. What you're really trying to get at is, what story do they tell you, and do you really believe it? I think it can go really 2 extremes here. One is that they say they've never made mistakes, that they're completely perfect. Ooh, I would be very scared about that answer, because we've all made mistakes, even if it's just showing up late to a showing or missing an email. Like, there are mistakes that someone can drum up that are even minor, but you should never hear them say that they've never made a mistake. On the flip side, it could be a very big mistake that they've done, maybe even cost legal or financial risk to the buyer. But what's great about the answer too is that they tell you, listen, it was my fault. I learned so much from this. I was humbled by it. There's no way I'd ever try to let this thing happen again. Here's the process I've put in place to make sure that doesn't happen, because that was also something caused because of a weakness of mine. See the open dialogue, the humbleness, the ability to learn from their mistakes, but more genuinely, they're like giving you the trust. That's the type of answer you want to hear, not over here where they've never made a mistake, Clear sign of ego, clear sign of protectionism, and trying to look good for you. So just start to weigh that. Not necessarily a wrong or right answer, it's all based on your personality, but make sure that you're thinking about their answer and whether you can trust that individual. Question number 5. Tell me about a time where you faced a problem in a deal with a buyer where you didn't have an answer. You didn't know what to do. You were lost. What we want to get out of this answer is, do they have resolve? Will they stick through it? Do they have your interest in mind? Can they be resourceful? Will they work their butt off through the night if necessary? And do they have the appropriate support network? Do they have brokers, other agents in their network, other service providers who can help resolve this problem or help them solve that problem very quickly and effectively? Most of us as agents aren't necessarily alone. We all have a network that will support us in time of need. We're all out to look for the best interests of buyers and sellers. And so if you have someone who's standing out on an island, didn't have anyone to actually help represent them, were too stubborn to ask for help, couldn't really figure it out, weren't resourceful enough, they give you a bad story, look out. That's a red flag. Question number 6. Will you always be accessible to me when I need or want you? It's a client-oriented business. So if you're a buyer and you want to be on the phone with your agent, they should be available. And if they're not available because they happen to be on the other line or they're in a meeting, they better call you back pretty quickly. So knowing that expectation for most of us, what you really want to need to look at is, will the availability and when an agent's available align with when you're going to be available to go see houses and do other things that are related to your transaction? Now, the best way to start getting a clear picture on that, I'll give you 3 suggestions. One is, are they full-time or part-time? Ask them. If they're part-time, it may mean that they have limited amount of time every day to devote to their real estate business because maybe they're working another job, they're in school, maybe they're a stay-at-home parent that's distracted with the family at various times of the day. The second thing that you need to look at is, how many clients do they currently have that they are working with, because there's only a finite amount of time that every agent has that they can devote to a set of clients. So if they're overwhelmed and they're at full capacity, how are they going to take you on in a healthy way versus you just going with someone who has 50% capacity or bandwidth to take you on who's just as good? And the third one is, some agents nowadays are working in teams. So you might have an agent that you're talking to who is individual or is representing himself individually to you, but when you sign up with them, they have a team that supports them. So at any given time, even if that agent that you have built the primary relationship is busy, you'll have a whole team that can take you to showings, help understand paperwork, take you through the process to make sure that you're never left alone. Pretty much a 24-hour like concierge service if you really want to think about it, right? So think about those 3 things when you're thinking about whether they will be accessible to you and that they're the right fit for you when it comes to availability. Question 7, my favorite one. How do your fees work? If you're a buyer and you're hiring a real estate agent, their answer is probably going to be, well, the seller picks up the commission, so they pay my commission. But you do need to be wary. You need to really ask a couple things to make sure that you aren't paying fees. One, sometimes, although the seller is paying the commission, if they're not paying the full 6% commission and your buyer's agent is expecting 3% when a deal closes, but they're only going to get 2.5%, sometimes, depending on how your contract works, are going to have to bridge that 0.5% of the purchase price to help pay for your buyer's agent. You never want to have that in there. Number 2, administrative fees. Even if they waive commission fees and promise that there's no commission fees, some people charge what you call like office fees or administrative fees, where they're trying to help recoup the fee that they pay to have a table in their office that they pay their broker. You never want to pay that. Never ever sign a contract that has that. There's no reason for you to do it. You're bringing them business, and most outcomes are going to get 3% of the purchase price, and there's no reason for you to pay that fee. There's going to be someone who will accept you not paying that fee. And in fact, brokerages like mine don't even put that in the contract. We refuse to put that in because I personally don't believe that I should ever charge you an administrative fee, especially if you weren't happy at the end of the day with my services. Because what that administrative fee really is for is, if in the event that like a sale doesn't go through, I can still recoup a little bit of money for gas, my office expenses, and other things. I don't agree to that. You shouldn't agree to it. And there might be other fees, just you shouldn't pay fees, period. Guys, I want to remind you that this video is part of a series on how to buy a house as a first-time home buyer. So I highly suggest you continue your education by clicking on the links below or checking out the links here on the end screen so you can take your home buying skills to the next level.